So JSX. So JSX lets you write HTML like markup directly in JavaScript. You can effectively have anything within curly braces function as like a JS expression. So as he says here, if it's valid JavaScript, it can live inside your markup. So the first common gap I see, having reviewed hundreds of PRs by this point, this is the first thing that I notice. It's the first thing that stands out to me as someone who is lacking in those foundations. They normally produce, and AI also produces, Div Soup, which is generic tags that don't give you anything about the semantic meaning behind the page. It means that anyone with an accessibility tool like a screen reader is blind to what the DOM layout is. And so when they oftentimes can't see, it's really hard for them to understand where they are on the page. Users get frustrated, you've completely left them behind. And it also hurts your debugging as well, because when you go into browser tools and you look at the DOM structure, you can't work out where you are in that DOM structure. And sometimes even with class names are hidden from you. So you have to really debug to find out exactly where the element that you see the problem with is in your actual code. So this is what I see. When I look at a modal, for example, that's made up of this div soup, this is what the accessible experience just isn't there. Divs on divs. Sometimes we have a div for a button with an on-click, which you definitely shouldn't be doing. That's extra work that the browser has to do in order to attack it, and it's actually slowing down your experience. There's a way to actually craft HTML. So it's semantic, it has meaning, and it provides an accessible experience. You've got to imagine when a blind person goes and uses your application and they click on the button that ultimately shows the modal, what you want is to give them an experience that sounds like dialogue, header, heading, modal title, then button, close button with a proper ARIA label. Then inside of that, you've got the content. This is the modal content area. It demonstrates semantic HTML structure with highlighted elements. And then they'll go into the footer. They understand visually where they are in the modal. And in the footer, you have usually action buttons. In this case, cancel and confirm. It's the same UI, same layout, but it has a totally different meaning. And this has a different meaning for users where you're not leaving them behind. Also has a different meaning when I'm reading your code as a senior. Understanding, do you understand the fundamentals? Are you leaving users behind? Are you producing top 1% code? So to give you an idea of what it kind of looks like, you can see here, we've got the dialogue at the top, header surrounding the top of the modal, a heading tag, H3 is fine, H2 would have been fine. We only want one H1 per page, so we don't want to use that. As long as it has a hierarchy and an order, we can use H's. And we would go, if we had another subheading, we would use H4 in this example. Then we have a button, ARIA label to close the modal. Especially when you have icons, you always want an ARIA label that tells the user what is the action that this button performs. Then we've got section with content, footer, and your footer buttons here. There are tools to help spot these patterns. The HTML visual validation browser extension allows you to see visually what the tags are on the page, so you can get a good idea about how your own website is performing, the applications you're building, and also you can see how other companies are doing it, how Apple do it, how Stripe do it. In this case, is how the Merton documents have structured their HTML, which no doubt is already a good example. Why does this matter? Why am I talking about semantic HTML in a React masterclass? Because it really impacts a few different areas that are important to you as a developer, are also important to the business that you're working within. Accessibility is the obvious one. It's probably better than 30% screen reader support. That the 30% is by studies that I was reading, but I see myself that when you've been on a student call, a research call with someone who's going through your website or your tool with a screen reader, it really fires home exactly how important ability is to your applications. For the business as well, Google's search crawlers love semantic tags. They love understanding pages with meaning, and you get higher rankings on your Google search results as a result of that. And as I said, if you're a developer looking at a bunch of div tags, it's hard for you to understand the structure just by seeing the HTML. You kind of need to step back, use a tool like the visualizer in order to see the hierarchy, so you can add the semantic HTML tags. So when you come back to your component, you can easily see at a glance the header of your modal, the footer of your modal, and it makes it a lot easier to reason about. And the last one that not many people know, which is performance. If you have a div tag with an on-click, it is actually slower to perform than the native button. You're creating more work, which often means that your websites are suffering behind the scenes. So I'm going to make it easy by highlighting here the top semantic HTML tags by usage. If you can commit this to memory, you will have the entire toolkit to be able to go out and make changes. So we've got our first exercise. So I hope everyone's downloaded and cloned the repo. And I'm going to share these commands for you. And what we're going to do is I'd like you to cd into the folder, run npm install, npm run dev. You should see a UI. Now, what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to go into the Div Soup page.jsx, and I'd like everyone to give a go at refactoring it. There'll be a lot of divs, but reason why, so we're going to give it 7 minutes from now. But what I'd like everyone to do is once they've had a chance to do the refactor, please, can you open up a pull request against the repo? And what we can do is then I can review your code, or you're more than welcome to put it into the chat, and I will do my best to break down and see where the opportunities might be. So I'm going to let everyone have it till, let's give 7 minutes from now. So for the first review, so top level container. Yes, top level class name container. I would have actually made this a main. The reason why is because this is a page. So the top level, as you can see here, should be the main content on the page. So that's, firstly, I would say the section is a little bit premature, considering you've got a header here as well. So one thing for Jack to keep in mind, header, wonderful. H1 tag, yes, one per page. That's definitely the right one to use. Nav bar, fantastic. Navigation, you have some anchor tags, that's brilliant. And then you put the main content here. How interesting, actually. There's nothing wrong with that. Oh, no chats, thank you. So let's continue on. So main content area, that's absolutely fine. Article for primary content. Yes, that's absolutely fine. So you've got the aside here, brilliant. Got the article at the top level here, brilliant. Header, H2, fantastic. I want to turn my, so yes, you got the time, brilliant. Span here. You could have gone with a span, you could have gone with a P tag as well. I'm not going to begrudge someone from using a span, that's absolutely fine. Yes, section, P tag, brilliant. We have a list here where you missed the opportunity here, Jack, to do a list here with some UIs as well. I think you could have gone, oh, you will. And you could have used a list. And you wouldn't, if you actually use the list, you don't actually need the role. So semantics actually mean that you don't need this role. In fact, it's actually better just to rely on the semantic tag that you've used. So this is great. Yes, H2. I've got to turn on my article for box item. Again, this is where I would say that you've kind of got a list here. Because you've got a list here, I would gone with the list again. and I would have wrapped this entire thing, very similar to what my AI is trying to do. I would have wrapped all the different elements in the UL and have UI. Let's go down here. Yes, we love the time. Because it's on the same level, this is where I go, oh, it's a hierarchy. Even though it's not a bad thing because you are wrapping it in an article. I would have used the UL here. So that's my advice would have been the UL here. And the UI. Yes, this is great. Footer, navigation, because you saw it had navigation, and you see you have anchor tags here. Again, you have a list. But it's about semantic meaning. I think in a nav bar with UI elements or anchor elements, it's easy to understand where we are in the page. Someone with a screen reader, and they're able to navigate that quite easily. Yes, P tag down here is absolutely fine. Wonderful.
Instead of that P tag, because that text is less important, we can use a small also.
We can, yeah. Each one is fine. Because they saw the styling, I'll forgive someone who doesn't use that. Brilliant. Thank you very much.